Hi, good evening, and welcome to the school committee meeting of Tuesday, October 10th, 2023. I'd like to welcome everyone and call the meeting to order. We are just coming out of an executive session, so sorry for the delayed start. We are a chatty group. We are going to start our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As we do in all meetings, I'll share the reading of the Wakefield Public Schools mission statement. The vision of the Wakefield Public Schools is to graduate students who are competent, lifelong learners who are respectful and caring members of the community. Our mission is to prepare students for college, career, and community by providing rich and challenging curriculum, high-quality instruction, and educational experiences that meet their individual needs and interests. At this time, we'll go into public comment. It's quiet here today compared to our last meeting. No mascots. Is there anyone here in the studio who would like to come up for public comment? Is there anyone on Zoom? We'll give it a second. No, so no public comment this evening. We do have our student advisory, council of one tonight, joining us on Zoom. Hi, Shay. Can you hear us?
Hi.
Hi.
Yes, I can hear you.
Welcome.
It's just me tonight. Ahmed is in New York, and Lauren and Vanessa have band practice, so I'll just give you a quick update. For academics, this coming Saturday we'll be hosting the PSATs, which will be online for the first time. For athletics, the volleyball team has had a great season so far. They are ranked 8th in Division 3. And the boys soccer team is also doing very well, and they're ranked 9th in Division 2. Just some other quick things happening. Picture retakes are next Monday, October 23rd. And the PTSA is looking for donations to make spooky treat bags for our teachers. And that's it.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Shay? No? No? None? Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shay.
Thank you for having me.
Have a good night. You're welcome to hang on Zoom, or I think you have other commitments, so you can drop as well. Do we have a consent agenda?
We do. Move that the school committee approve the minutes of the September 26th, 2023 meeting as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
I will abstain.
Okay.
I wasn't here.
So it was, so all those in favor, and there's no opposed. So it passes unanimously with one abstain. Can you see us, Judy? Okay. Oh, wait, no, we're all here, Judy.
Yes, I can
Okay.
see you, and I'm not on mute now.
Okay. All right.
Madam Chair, I don't know if WCT is aware, but there's a weird echo coming through the speaker here, just so they're aware. I don't know if that's a Halloween thing that Ian has going. Ian, is that a Halloween something that's happening there with the sound?
Is it just that volume maybe needs to be turned down on that speaker?
Can you hear the echo?
Oh,
On
is
that
there-
speaker right there? Maybe the volume just needs to be turned down? All right. It's like we're on a cliff. Okay, so we're done with consent. So budget items. Christine?
Hi, good evening, everyone. So tonight you have the financials from July 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2023. So we're done through the first quarter of the fiscal year. And as you can see, we've encumbered all the salaries for the year for all active staff that are on the payroll. So now we know what we have for our available balances. Keep in mind there still are some vacancies in the district, and we still have some positions up on the website to fill, but we're in good shape, so everything's encumbered. We still have some materials and supplies to spend and contract with service lines to spend down. We haven't encumbered our buses yet. So we have about 13.47% remaining. We can just also look at the grants. We have our grants for this fiscal year, our entitlement grants. We're in good shape. We have over $3 million. We've put all the paraprofessionals on the SPED IDEA grant and on the ESSER 3 grant. So those salaries are also encumbered. We're in good shape there. And our revolving accounts are starting to get in full swing, our athletics, our performing arts. We see the user fees are starting to get deposited. School lunch is starting to come down in balance as well, as we've seen some food costs go up this year. But that's the financials through September. If anyone has any questions.
No
Okay.
questions?
And then we have, in the month of September, we had 3 payrolls. So you have the 3 payrolls to approve.
Move that the school committee approve payroll warrants number 10, 12, and 14 as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? No? All those in favor? There is none opposed. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thanks, Christine.
Thanks.
The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. For my comments and updates tonight, first I'd like to start off with just a few remarks about the start of the school year. So September is now in the books. I just want to say that anyone who might be watching tonight, if our teachers are working kind of triple time to try to meet all the needs of students, some of our students have returned to school and have really just hit the ground running and are really doing an amazing job. Others are taking a little bit more time to settle in, and others just require a little bit more support. And so if you are at all concerned about your child, again, we're 1 month in, I wouldn't, I don't want to say I wouldn't be overly concerned, but I would urge you to just reach out to your child's teacher or your principal just to talk this through, just to talk through what you might be seeing and how the school might be able to help, if that makes sense, right? Other news and just comments and that I'd like to include tonight before I move on with my technical, the technical work that we're doing here in district. I just want to say, with what's happening around the world, that the terror attack that was perpetrated by Hamas against Israel that resulted in Israel making a declaration of war has led to numerous casualties and injuries on both sides of this event. And of course, we condemn this act of terrorism. In Massachusetts, and more specifically in Wakefield, Wakefield is home to students and staff with cultural ties to both Israel and Palestine. In Massachusetts, well before the start of the war, there was an increase, a rise, an uptick in anti-Semitic and Islamophobic incidents even before the war started. As a school and district leader, we need to make sure that we provide safe space for all members of our school community. If you or your family is impacted and we can do anything to support you in any way, I would encourage you to reach out to your child's principal, to your teachers, and certainly to your school counselors, and to the district administrators as well, in light of all that's happening. I think it's just important for us to make note of what's happening in the world before we get down to the business of our middle school cell phone grant, which seems to pale in comparison, right? So I'll leave that, and again, if we can help with anything, please be in touch. An update on our middle school cell phone grant. We had a meeting from 3:30 to 4:30 today that was led by the middle school administration. We had some counselors on the call. Andrew Cedrone was there. Jen Hart couldn't make it, but I think wanted to be there and planned on being there. We had a lot of participation today. It is a recorded meeting. So if you couldn't make the meeting, don't sweat it. You can certainly look at the recording. And if you don't have time to do that, I would urge you just to reach out directly to Meg Webb or anybody on the administrative team, as well as Andrew Cedrone, and they can certainly help answer your questions and get you going in the right direction. And so that's an update there. Happy to answer any questions that anyone might have before I move on to new language in the handbook.
Not a question, Doug, but they also had said the slides they presented would be shared out as well to families who couldn't make it, so that will be available to us soon as well.
I think that they should be part of the recording.
Oh, I figured they would also just send the slides, but maybe
Separately?
I misunderstood. I may have misunderstood, but that's what I assumed they would
You're
do.
probably spot on, Pete. You have the stuff technically down quite well. So I will make sure that we have both available, right? But thank you for that. Any other thoughts or questions in regard to cell phone grant?
So it seems like it's moving forward.
Mhm.
I heard today, after the Thanksgiving break, is now the new date. Originally, it was November 1st, right? That was the original.
Correct.
So I'm wondering, after maybe a few months in, we could come back and hear how it's going.
Yeah, I think we had planned on giving it some time into the spring.
The spring,
But
that's
we can
fine.
certainly give an update
Yeah.
ahead of that. But we had talked about, in our last meeting here, we had talked about surveying parents, surveying
Okay.
students, and surveying teachers, just to get some different perspectives and just getting some feedback on how it's working. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, that's great.
And I wasn't able to attend today, but the no, I don't remember what I was going to ask because now I have like so many questions in my head. It's still happening. It's happening at the end of November. Was there ever a discussion today about the Velcro pouches versus the locked pouches? Because I know that came up a lot. That was one of the main questions that we
Yeah.
talked about last week in
Yeah.
our subcommittee meeting. So that still needs to be a conversation with like the administration
Yeah,
of the building, right?
I can try to summarize it.
Yeah,
to
if you could
address it.
summarize.
So
Sorry.
I think we want
Thank you.
all students to participate in the event, in the grant,
Right.
right? And to participate with either a Velcro pouch or a locked pouch
Got
or
it.
a magnetic pouch,
Mhm.
right? And if you need an accommodation for any reason, you just need to see MegWeb.
Okay, and I saw that they put I did see some screenshots of it where
Mhm.
they put like the people where the magnet stations would be
Mhm.
besides that, and then there might be a magnet outside of the building.
I think that was a recommendation that was made here in our last meeting.
Right,
And I think MegWeb was working on that.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Perfect. So more to come.
Yeah.
With all that.
Yep.
One additional that I hadn't heard before was they had talked about perhaps having one at the police station.
Oh,
So just the conversation seems to be, it's becoming more robust.
right,
There's definitely, it's not happening in a vacuum. There's conversations going on, and it's
yeah,
definitely the plan is being more sort of fleshed out.
Yeah.
Thoughtfully.
Yeah, and I think that's important to note, right? As we're learning better ways to do it. For example, I think it was in this last meeting, someone said, "Oh, would there be a magnet on the outside of the building?"
No, it was actually, sorry, I
I-
don't mean to correct you,
No,
but
no.
I will. It actually was at a parent came to back to school night
Okay.
and said that to Meg, and then Meg said it on the policy and communication
Got it.
subcommittee.
Got it.
Yeah.
I stand corrected.
I don't want to give this meeting too much credit.
Great. And so, but the important piece is Stephen's point is, as the conversation grows more robust and
Mhm.
as people are asking questions, if there's better ways of doing things that can still meet the tenets of the grant,
right,
then I think we're more than open to giving it a go.
okay.
And it was because of all the parent feedback, which is
Mhm.
important. Because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we want the parents to have their kids participate.
Mhm.
Right. And which led to the next bullet item on my comments and updates, new language for cell phones in the Galvin handbook. We had shared in the last meeting that there was language that was taken out of the handbook in 1718, and there was other language in the behavior rubrics. And so, but we kind of reviewed that with the Policy and Communications Subcommittee, and we thought that it was really good feedback, and we created some new language to go back into the existing handbook. It's a Google Doc, And so it'll be easy to insert that. And once we insert it or make the change, we will send a weekly, and Meg in her weekly notes to parents and to staff, we'll get that out, letting people know that new language is in there.
With that, I would move that the school committee approve the new language on cell phones for the Galvin Middle School handbook as presented.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Can you read do you mind reading the new language?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
For discussion, one thing I wanted to point out is that the first sentence of this language that's being added to the handbook that says all phones must be turned off and stored as directed by building administration or the classroom teacher at the start of the school day. And I think that's the key sentence. Like, it really just gives a clear directive that the policy at the middle school is that the common expectation is that phones will be turned off and stored as directed. So with the Yonder cell phone pouch grant, that complies with the Yonder program. But even if the Yonder program didn't exist, theoretically, hypothetically, it still is now very clear that that's what the expectation is. So I think that's like the key sentence. But I can continue reading for the rest of the policy before we vote on it. A Galvin staff member can grant access and permission for a student to use their cell phone for situational necessities, including students with accommodations that support physical and emotional health. If an accommodation is needed, please see the building principal. Phones should not be used in bathrooms, locker rooms, hallways, or at lunchtime. Additional guidance for appropriate cell phone use can be found in the Standards for Responsible Use of Technology policy. Any student caught using a cell phone inappropriately during the day will be subject to the behavior expectation rubric. When in doubt, ask a staff member. And I would just like to remind everyone that we do have the school committee policy in place. This one, policy 1106, that also has further language that we've all agreed upon for any technology that's used in schools.
And there's a copy of this language in the school committee packet, which is always available online, in case you couldn't write as fast as Kevin was talking.
Was I talking too fast?
No, I'm just kidding. Is there any other discussion before we vote? Or questions? No? All those in favor? There's none opposed, so it passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin, for the help with that. Appreciate it.
And the CPAC, she cannot be here till 7:45.
Not a problem.
Do you want to skip?
We'll go to YRBS.
How long? That's going to be long.
What's up? We'll go to YRBS. So we'd like to invite Brendan Kent, Catherine Dingra, and Andrew Tetrault is here representing the middle school. And we also have some people joining us on Zoom. We have some administrators from the high school that are joining us as well. And so please, you have a clicker there for the slides? Great. So this is going to be a brief overview compared to all the data that was generated. And there'll be time at the end for questions. Catherine, I can turn it over to you.
Yes, you can. Good evening. What's behind us? So yes, we're used to doing this in a much larger time frame, so we've condensed it down. We're going to talk for about, oh great, we have Dave Robinson on here, and I think Joe Mullaney will be joining us as well. So this is our 2023 Youth Risk Behavior Survey results. Just as a reminder to everyone, this is a survey administered every 2 years. We've been doing this in Wakefield since 2011. It's a partnership with the Health and Human Services Department and the Wakefield Public Schools. Now, since 2019, the Middlesex League joined in together so we could have comparable data. It was funded by Leahy Health, and this year it was funded by the Mystic Valley Public Health Coalition. And John Snow Inc. is our evaluator who takes the data and synthesizes everything and presents it for us. So this year the survey was administered back in April. We do a parental passive consent. We've done that since 2011. This is obviously a tool that we work together with to add new questions every year to identify some data trends. And we provided updated FAQ this year to answer questions about how students take it via technology. And what it measures is it measured a number of different risk factors and a number of different protective factors. And we have used this year over year to really identify data trends and identify strategies to help make our youth healthier so that they can learn, they can thrive, and they can do well. So we really take a look at our population here. This is how students self-identified. This is in students in grades 7 through 12. So we put that data together, and you can tell that the demographics of Wakefield are changing from when we first did this back in 2011. And our first data set is around mental health. So.
So, Brennan Kent, glad to be back here. I'll just walk us through some of the data points over the next few slides. I will say some of the data, if you look at, obviously it shows data from 2017, 19, 2021, 2023. It also shows, excuse me, the Middlesex League average, just so you can kind of see the trends in the data. I will say not just this slide, but future slides as well. There are obviously some concerning data points, but however, a lot of the data we were pleasantly surprised is definitely trending in a positive direction. So for example, the bottom right, you can see that 2% of the students reported that they have attempted suicide, which is obviously incredibly alarming. However, that's cut in half from 4% from just a few years ago. And the same can be seen in future slides as well. So again, while we do have some concerning data points, it definitely trending in the positive direction. Go ahead.
Yeah, speaking, Andrew Tetrold, Assistant Principal at the Galvin. Hi, everyone. Just speaking to, I don't want to take too much time of it, but, the middle school in particular around mental health. I think it's no surprise when you look at it, even with the high school, but also the middle school, where we were struggling around the COVID times, right, mental health and whatnot, and so there was a big uptick there. But just like Brendan said, recent trends are showing that we are going, in a better direction, and I do think that's largely in part to, our response as a district with this data and school committee as well responding to it. To try to find ways we can support kids, especially with the mental health crisis as well. I think it's no surprise that I've been known to be a little competitive, and so it is nice to have the Middlesex League stuff, but I still want us to be lower than the Middlesex League, so we'll continue to work on that, at least from the middle school standpoint.
I just do want to point out the bottom two bullets on this slide when you look at the Galvin students. So you see that our students who identify as heterosexual versus LGBTQ have a much higher rate of depression and suicidal ideation. So this is something that when we look at our school culture and looking at protective factors for those youth and including our students of color as well, much higher rates of depression and suicidal ideation.
And just to add to that, I think that's something that we're trying to do a better job recently, is not just look at the kind of aggregate numbers, but break it down and take a closer look at some of those more vulnerable populations of students as well.
All right, so these are some of the strategies to address social emotional well-being. I'll have, I think, Dave, are you still on there?
He is.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, there he is. Do you want to talk about some of the strategies at the high school?
Yeah, definitely. Good evening, everybody. So as far as some of the strategies that we are addressing, one thing to point out is that just over the past 4 or 5 years, we've added 3 adjustment counselors at the high school. So I think that's by far the biggest addition and impact we've had addressing all of these social emotional issues. We have 2 amazing counselors, Andrea Keogh and Suzanne Burns, who meet with the entire caseload, whoever is referred to them, and they are amazing. I'm sure people have probably heard, and they've dealt so much with some of these elevated social emotional issues. And then this year we're added Justine Thomas, adjustment counselor, for our updated Bridge program. And just to take a quick minute on that piece, the Bridge program existed prior to this year, just a 1 block a day for students who are struggling. The target is students that are returning from a long-term absence. So it could be partial hospitalization, it could be an injury that they're out, a surgery, a medical issue, whatever it is. If it's a long-term illness, coming back into the school is obviously really, really challenging. So what the Bridge program does is we're able to open that all day long, not just 1 block a day. So these students will have an adjustment counselor and a teacher on duty at all times, and they're going to be that connection to the teachers and families to get them back into the setting. And it's obviously case by case and individual, so we'll have the ability to kind of just phase them back into school when possible. So not to go too far into details here, but it's a pretty large update for our school and to serve our students. We're really looking forward to having that implemented this year. And then also some other things, we've done the signs of suicide screening, both Galvin and at the high school. We will continue to do that. And then we also have our advisory program. So once a month we have an extended homeroom, and each month has a different social, emotional, and SEL topic, where the agenda is in the lesson plan is created, and all the teachers take part, and then they work with their homeroom students to develop their relationships with them as well. And then one other piece, our counselors, many of them have started lunch groups for a lot of different specific reasons. So there's some that are reducing stress, some organizational skills, some are just mindful coloring, just basically things that students can come to during their lunchtime if they're overwhelmed in the CAF or just needs that place to go in small groups. So we've really done a great job, our team has, with implementing the lunch groups. I don't know if that kind of covers some of the key parts. If anybody else wants to
I think
jump in from the...
at least for the middle school, just to highlight a couple of things. Obviously, again, over the last couple of years with doing the YRBS, we've been able to add a counselor to every grade level, which is something that wasn't necessarily the case way back when I first started. And so that's been a great response to this, including our TLC model, which is our therapeutic learning center for some of our kiddos that might need a little extra support, right, emotionally and whatnot. So we've been able to add a counselor, adjustment counselor to that position this year. And so Lauren McIsaac she hit the ground running already this year. It's been great. And then one of the things that we're targeting this year, right, speaking of like targeting, kids that just might need a little bit extra, we've started the WIN pilot program at our school. And so really working on different skills and gaps that our kids might need, whether it is math, whether it's ELA, whether it is in social emotional learning. And so our counselors are taking on a cohort of kids every quarter and cycling through and really working on some of the social emotional learning that they might need. So just a couple of things that we're doing at the Galvin.
Just from a health education perspective, I've been here now 9 years, which is crazy. I can't believe it. But when I first came here, we were only teaching health education in 3 grade levels. Over the years, we've expanded that to now 10 grade levels, starting all the way down in kindergarten. When I first started here, we had no curriculum, no health curriculum. It was basically teachers went in and taught what they felt like teaching. And we've since adopted a research-based curriculum, Michigan model curriculum. When I first came here in 2015, Wakefield, we had the data through the YRBS. We were struggling with some substance abuse issues, major substance abuse issues. It was at the height of the opioid epidemic. Sadly, we unfortunately had a few Wakefield High graduates that passed away after a late night prom party in a car accident. So we've really, over the years, done a lot to, like I said, increase the amount of health education students are receiving in school, especially around substance abuse. I think it's a positive thing to see some of the data reflect some of those positive changes from an athletics perspective. We've also teamed up with a lot of our sports coaches Catherine was a great partner in the youth action team. We made a video featuring a lot of our sports coaches a few years back, which we still show at coaches meetings, teaching students and coaches how to deal with certain situations involving substance abuse. We've also teamed up with Suzanne Burns at the high school in regards to mental health. So our coaches have her contact if they observe someone on their sports team that they're concerned about. Maybe they seem down and out. They can discreetly contact Suzanne, who can then discreetly get in touch with that student in school. So I think we've done a lot of teaming in regards to athletics and our resources here in the school and health education. One last point, I'm sorry for talking so much. Our health teachers have done a really good job the past 2 years of collaborating with our guidance department. So they invite in our adjustment counselors and our guidance counselors into their health classes each semester and just introduce them to the students, because we felt like a lot of students aren't even aware of what resources they have at the school. And so to make them aware of who they can go see if they are having an issue is, I think, really key. So that's all I have. Speaking of substance abuse, here we go, right on cue. So again, still some concerning data, but obviously, as you can see from the graph, things have really trended in a positive direction here in Wakefield. Especially if you look at that prescription drug misuse number from 7% in 2017 down to 1%. It's really positive. Marijuana use also from 30% down to 11%. So again, still definitely room for improvement. And in an ideal world, that would be 0. But we're definitely trending in a positive direction.
Yeah, and I think we're really proud of that. And one of the things too is that this is just helpful information for the community to have. So even though this is school data, so that bottom percentage where students, 56% of high school students think it's easy to get alcohol. Well, we're partnering up with the high school and doing an upcoming parent university session for parents around substance use and alcohol access. So we're taking this data and addressing strategies that involve the whole community, not just saying, oh, schools, it's your responsibility to do this. It's our whole community's responsibility. And here's our Galvin data. It's also coming down quite significantly. So you can see that important information. And then the strategies to address substance use. Did Joe jump on?
I'm here, Catherine.
Oh, there you are. Okay,
I'm here.
Take it away.
High school committee. I apologize, my screen won't cooperate with me and it's staying dark, but thanks for having me on tonight. I appreciate it. And I think just quickly about the strategies around substance abuse, I think the data looks promising and there's decreases in many areas, which is fantastic. And I think what it really comes down to, this slide tells you that, is that it's a combination of education, the commitment to the message, and then support from parents, community, and the school together. And so, there's a couple of bullets here that talk about the curriculum that's been used and the outreach around certain members of the community to parents and students. And I think that the second bullet is something that we're pretty proud of, and actually it's great to have a program such as the diversion program that we utilize with students around the use of nicotine, THC, alcohol, that sort of thing. So rather than kind of a punishment approach, it's really an educational approach and a reflective approach. And so it's something that has shown some good promise, and we're excited about continuing that. And then if you look at the bottom two bullets, the senior night is something that the community has really kind of come together around. And then the coalition work, I think those two bullets really show the power that really comes from the community working together. And the coalition work is nice because it really involves students. So that peer-to-peer model can be really, really powerful. And so it's all of these things we want to continue and to kind of build upon these to work to address the areas that still remain as concerns for us.
Andrew, did you have anything to add on
Yeah, I
this?
mean, I don't want to keep going on, but I mean, there are, I think, one of the things we know at the middle school level is, right, the curiosity factor, right, we've all gone through middle school, right, the curiosity factor and the, am I the only one not doing it, right, am I fitting in, am I not fitting in, finding my niche, finding my place, and so one of the great things that the youth action team, so we've got a youth action team at the Galvin that is kind of like mentored by the older high school kiddos, and so one of the things that we try to do a good job of promoting, or they do, I should say, not me, but the youth action team is putting up flyers and stuff like that in the bathrooms and in the common ways to just celebrate kids, because the vast majority of them are not engaging in these risky behavior, are not engaging in substance abuse, and whether it's the vapes or anything like that. And so to highlight that, they've done a really good job, and that's kind of one of the main factors they do at the middle schools, to be like, you're actually in the majority. Like, do you know that the vast majority of the kids aren't doing it? And so when kids see that, they're like, oh, okay, I'm not, like, okay, I am doing the right thing. And I think it's just one of the things that, we talk about highlighting the community, like, it is a community approach to raising the kids in Wakefield, right? Parents, us, school, and so the more we can try to help them and put these resources in their place to support them, the better.
WMH students in violence. So on the left is frequency of bullying online the past couple of months, and on the right is frequency of bullying in school in the past couple of months. And again, something we're starting to look at some of those more vulnerable populations of students, and something we noticed is that black students and students of other races were significantly more likely than the average high school student to experience discrimination because of their race or ethnicity. We have Galvin violence and bullying.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of us would love to see that at 0, obviously, and that's the goal. And all we sometimes do between staff, between myself, student support, is managing kids' emotions when they're really heightened, and how you handle that appropriately. And that's part of the, I know they talk about it in health class, right? Conflict resolution is a big part, and that's part of the Michigan model as well. And so it's not great seeing those numbers. I think, I've you guys know me by now. I'm always trying to find the positive in it, and I think you can see a big dip and trending in the right direction. But I think we still have some work to do, which is just a reality of middle school life.
All right, so do you want to talk about some of the strategies that you've done at the Galvin?
Sure, I'd be happy. Sure, Catherine, thank you.
All right.
I think if you look at the slide, I think the data around bullying is promising when you look at kind of 4 to 6 years ago and the decrease, and I think really a lot of it comes down to the education that we're providing and the close work that we're trying to do with students. And so the health educational curriculum really touches upon that. Advisory is really trying to kind of hit home with kind of the really positive messages for students and taking care of each other. We talked about the adjustment counselors. I think they all really play a role in that. I want to note the 2 bottom bullets are new initiatives, if you will, at the high school this year. And we had a Unity Day in the past, and now we're looking to do a Unity Week. And so there's going to be a number of different approaches around that, and you can see the keynote speaker and small group discussions are noted there. And then there's also just went out some information to students around a new leadership group at the school around bystander intervention, healthy relationship, where, again, it's the peer-to-peer model where students will be trained, upperclassmen will be trained, and then they will work in the lower grades in their classrooms with students around this piece. And these are 2 really exciting approaches, because if you look at the previous slide for the high school, it talked about 2 pieces that have the potential to really address this, and that's around the discrimination piece, and then the other piece is the dating violence piece. And so those are are numbers that are of concern to us. And we think that these two approaches are going to help to hopefully address that in a way that maybe we haven't seen before. So we're looking forward to that, and it's exciting to bring new initiatives into the school as well. Thank you.
Sure. And then again, just to just highlight, right? We're trying the wind block, which will be a big. We're hoping a big success for addressing some of these trends we're seeing in our school. We've got our positive school culture team, which is a new thing. We're trying a couple of different tactics. I don't know. You may know about a cell phone thing that we're trying at the school. You may not know. I don't know. But we are trying anything and everything to. Is it too soon? That was maybe too soon. Sorry. We're trying anything, and I think that's just the reality is we care about our kids, not only at the high school but at the middle school, and we just want to see what we can do to help support them in the best way we can with different ways and different tactics, different clubs, finding entry points into their lives. So.
And all of these strategies we're evaluating. So like the positive school culture team, we had 10 Galvin staff participate in a 2-day restorative circles training before the school year started. And then they have goals that they're trying to reach for as far as the built environment, as far as 8th period. There are lots of goals within that positive school culture team, and we're going to be evaluating the impacts of these strategies. So stay tuned. But we're really exciting things happening at both schools around this topic. We also found some other data trends of interest. I don't know, Brenda, if you want to talk about these.
Yeah, so our evaluators found a strong correlation between depression, sleep, and screen time amongst our middle school and high school students. And so, as you can see, the red is the Wakefield numbers. On the left is the middle school. On the left side, the far left is the middle school, and the second red is the high school, and the blue is the Middlesex League averages. So our students are below the Middlesex League average in regards to getting enough sleep, and they're above the Middlesex League average in regards to screen time, and that is 3 hours or more of screen time, not including homework on your screen. So, so obviously this is something that we're gonna start to look a little closer at and see if we can help influence our students to get more sleep, more quality sleep, and less time on screens. Also a little concerning, 25% of our high school students reported texting while driving, which is obviously incredibly dangerous. And ending on a positive note, 82% of our high school students reported participating in extracurricular activities as a protective factor. So.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that we focus a lot on strategies to address the negative things, but we really do focus a lot on those positive protective factors, how to connect students to activities, how do they find out about things. So having things like Warrior Pride Night, all the different strategies to get students involved, really build those protective factors. And a huge protective factor, which Wakefield is exceeding the Middlesex League in, is there one teacher or other adult in the school that you can talk to if you have a problem. And those numbers have come up dramatically. So you can actually see at the bottom graph shows the high school that's increased significantly from, and I actually should have put in the 2017 data because it's come up even more. And then the Galvin data where it's increased and understanding which of those students feel connected. So that's a good.
I think this has definitely been a focus for, I would say, both the Galvin Middle School and the high school. And on a positive note, we've had a lot of new hires recently in terms of athletic coaches that are also teachers in the district, which I think is definitely very helpful. Just within the past year, Meg Delori, one of our high school guidance counselors, got promoted to head coach for gymnastics. We just hired our basketball coach, just got hired as a teacher at the high school. So getting some of those coaches as teachers and teachers as coaches, I think is definitely a huge help too in making connections with students.
So once again, we're proud that Wakefield's leading the way, that we have this collaborative relationship, and that we do take the data seriously and work as a team with you all to come up with strategies to help our students be healthier and thrive. So if you have any questions, let us know.
Does anyone have any questions? Oh, go ahead, Kevin.
So you had years 17, 19, 21. So it's interesting to see the trend lines for a lot of these factors. But then there were like the random data points for the Middlesex League. So the only information on the Middlesex League was 2023. So that you could kind of compare now versus the Middlesex League now. I was wondering if you guys looked at the trend lines in the Middlesex League that kind of mirrored our trend lines. Like, were they also as high as we were in 2017 for like substance use or for mental health, suicide ideation? I think it would be helpful to know if the trend lines that you're seeing in Wakefield, because if like we're like dropping at a steeper rate than they are, it doesn't matter necessarily what the data point is right now. But if we have if we had a better decrease, that could suggest that some of the things we're doing are working.
Yeah, I mean, we only have the Middlesex League data going back to 2019,
Okay.
so we can't see their trend lines. I mean, we work with other communities, so we've seen some things. There were some things we were definitely significantly higher in around behavioral, some of the mental health and substance use. So we have come down significantly more than the rest of the Middlesex League. But yeah, we could probably find the 2019 data, so you can see how it's come down.
Stephen?
Yep, first, thank you for all of this. I'd start by saying I appreciate that to see all the departments working together to just realize that you're not siloed, that you know how important the work is, and to keeping those lines of communication open. You're part of the reason that the trends are coming down and that the kids are so receptive to it. So the methods are working. And thank you. Just thank you for being such team players. Probably comes easier for Bryn than most others. And I find it hard to believe that you've been here for 9 years because you don't have enough gray hair. So, I'm curious.
Well,
Yeah.
gross it out. Second here.
And Catherine, you might be the one to best answer this question. From a community behavioral health perspective, are we seeing the same demands on the system that we were sort of during COVID? I know that the system was absolutely stressed, and we were sort of coping with what the community was able to provide, what was coming into the schools. Have we seen any of that pressure let up?
I know we have Dave on here, but I know that the wait times for behavior, so we use a couple different, we have the interface referral system, and we have some other ways to help connect families to therapists and to get the support. We also have a new community-based behavioral health center that helps with emergency situations, and both of those are still experiencing the stress. The wait times are pretty significant. So we can't, I mean, if the student wants online therapy, it can happen a lot quicker, but it's still, the demands are exceeding the ability to meet it.
That's okay. In terms of, so I know that school counselors used to do coffee talks. Is that coming back this year? Has it started?
They were talking, I know Jen and Andrew were talking about doing them.
I don't know off the top of my head, but I do know now mental health coordinators now, right?
They're working on the schedule.
Yeah, I think they're going to, knowing them.
And one nice thing that we layer in all these different approaches together with the WEF funding that we got with the Cummings Foundation, we were able to do more support for the student support services and bring in a clinical supervision for our behavioral health team. So that's been helpful.
It's also helped our interns.
Yes, and our
tremendously,
interns.
which creates a bench, right, to hire.
Yeah, I think what's fascinating with this data is I would expect it to be like low before COVID, boom, COVID, but that's not what happened. Like there were more mental health issues in 2017 than 2020, 2021. So we got the kind of the narrative we have of COVID causing all these mental health issues and like suicidal ideation, all these, and bullying. The data disproves that. It was way worse before COVID. So it's kind of an interesting, trend line But I think what COVID did is it kind of spurred us to add adjustment counselors to do all this stuff. So weirdly enough, I think COVID kind of gave the political will to and the financial will to allocate these resources that are hopefully going to help reverse these trends that were going on well before COVID started. So I find that really interesting
Yeah.
looking at it.
And that's a really interesting, when we talk to our behavioral health team at the schools too, that we hear COVID kind of opened up the stigma around
Yeah.
behavioral health. So that's where you see people being more willing and parents reaching out more, and then having the adjustment counselors, especially that the system at the Galvin works really well, and they know those kids well. So.
And I would agree, Kevin. Like this is not like some sort of. It was trending this way, and there's always been a push, and the town has always done a great job of like responding to trying to help them. And then I think what happened, at least with COVID, was, oh my goodness, like we don't have access to them, and now they're off on their own. Like, oh, what is happening? How do we? And that was the tough space we were in. But now as we're coming out of it, I feel like, along with our interns and whatnot, we've got a support team there to kind of continue the good work.
I'm sorry. I wrote down a lot of stuff. I don't want to like chew up all the time. I was just a couple things I was curious about. When you talk about peer-to-peer training, and I think of that sort of being a trainer-the-trainer model, can you talk about a space where you might, let's say there's a student who's noticed a behavioral change in a friend, where do they go to talk about how to have a conversation with that friend? Because it's one thing to sort of talk to the kids that do this work, that are on the youth action team, that are sort of maybe honors kids, and it's another thing to have a conversation with the kid that you sit down at lunch with. And so how do you message that? How do you message that to their friends, not directly some classmate that they don't talk to very often, but how do you get the message out to that kid that maybe here's how you want to sort of reach out?
Well,
Jump in real quick on that one. Sorry. Oh, I was just going to say, that's actually exactly one of the things we talk about. We meet with all the classes, all the grade level meetings. We talk about all the resources we have. And one of the things we specifically point out is that it's not just thinking of yourself, but also you may be doing fine, but you may find a friend who's just not doing well and is struggling. So, and throughout the 4 years, they're going to have times where they're struggling, and they're going to have times where their friends are struggling. And to really be on the lookout for that. So we actually go out of our way to point that out, because exactly what you just said, it's crucial. And a lot of times their friends are the first ones sometimes to know that they're struggling, more than we like to think. Some other times other people would know first, but a lot of times they have confidence in talking to their friends, right? So we encourage them to come forward to their trusted adult. We just saw the stats that so many students in our school have a trusted adult. So for the student trying to help their friend, we tell them to go to their trusted adult and just kind of explain what's going on. And then when there's that hesitation, we usually just try to explain that although your friend may be kind of mad at you for going to someone else at first, maybe just kind of a natural reaction at that age, but you'd rather have that, because once they kind of digest it all and see what you did for them, they're going to actually appreciate it. So it's just kind of that maybe hesitancy that some students have, but we do make a point to try to bring that up, because that is a huge help for us if someone comes up with their student and their friend,
Great. Thank you.
And we are going to be offering a QPR training in between the sports seasons, which question, persuade, and refer. So that's anyone that gets trained in that will have, the youth are trying to figure out what some sort of symbol on their backpack or a sticker for their water bottle. So they're certified in QPR, so they know how to, so someone can go to them. And this is something a lot of colleges and universities have done, so it's something. But I also want to, the middle school and high school health classes, I've stopped in on some of their behavioral health units, and it's really incredible, some of the work that they're doing in those classes, and how they try to really address a lot of that in those health classes. So I know at back to school night for my sophomore, our teacher talked a lot about how he focuses mostly on behavioral health. So
Yeah, our health teachers, middle school and the high school, are top notch. They're awesome.
Thank you. This was a great presentation.
so much data, and just really, it's really nice to be able to kind of see some of the progress that I think is being made because of all the efforts of everybody in the district and the great collaboration. Two questions. The first being around participation levels, and was there any difference? I feel like more than ever there was a lot of conversation when this was administered, and like some hesitancy from some families and whatnot. Was there any significant change in participation compared to previous years?
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
especially at the Galvin, yeah.
Yep. And that, I mean, yes, it is what it is, I think.
We still had 83%.
Yeah, there was
participate.
still a large amount. I mean, the YRBS, although we've been really kind of focusing it, I took the YRBS when I was at Wakefield High. Like, it's been around for years, right? But I think just now we're just really starting to pay attention to it. And so, I think we're always constantly looking at what can we do better? Like, how can we maybe make this, so we don't have that as much of an opt-out. But we did have still a fair amount that did it, and I know there was some wording around it, and I had some great conversations with some parents and families about, really, you shouldn't be starting in 7th grade to talk about some of these things. It should be like much earlier, right, at the, with families and whatnot. So those are great conversations, and so I think we'll look at it again.
Yeah,
In a
look at
couple
some of the
years.
wording of some of the questions, especially at the middle school level, and hear that community feedback. But we definitely weren't the only district. I know they were, a lot of communities around us got much higher opt-out rates this year, and had some similar conversations.
And you see how valuable the data is. So obviously the higher the participation, the better, because the more programs can be created and all the great work that's being done is because it comes out of the results. So which leads me to my last question. I really appreciated kind of breaking down some of the data, particularly around different identities, and kind of highlighting particularly those from marginalized identities. You talked about some really good kind of broad strategies that were influenced by the report. Is there either just discussion and/or has it gone even further than that, like any particular interventions or programs being created that's directly connected to some of the differences that are evident in identity?
I mean, I think that the positive school culture team at the Galvin, that's mostly what it's focused around, and looking at some of the different identity groups, and then some of the strategies around that I know that they're working on.
Yeah. That's what I would have said. The positive culture team is I mean, it's why some of our staff got the training over the summer and whatnot, and when we had our leadership summit this past summer with our 8th graders, they jumped in and already started doing it with some of our 8th graders. So I think it's about laying that foundation for everyone, and then kind of narrowing what do we need, who might need that attention, and especially, again, the life of a middle school, right, all year long, and I'm sure it's the same at the high school. Kids start off strong maybe in the fall, and then they need a little bit more support in the winter, and then they're back in a good space, or maybe they start off and they need a little bit more support, and then they trend on and to be in a better space as the year goes on. So that's why we're really targeting those win blocks as well for identifying kids that might need their check-ins throughout the year.
I don't know if Joe Mulaney's still on the call, but he mentioned expanding Unity Day from Unity Day to Unity Week. So just, small things like that might seem small but make a big impact.
Sure.
Yeah, and also looking around to see what other districts are doing to support students, and there's a group in Woburn that's supporting LGBTQ athletes and figuring out how to do trainings for coaches and things like that. So I think that's one area that we can kind of look around and implement some best practices, and we have some school leaders that are really passionate about that. So the positive school culture team is giving them that opportunity to look outward as well as inward.
Great.
Hey,
Thank you.
Catherine, can I add one quick note too from the high school perspective, and just on that piece? And so we offer lunch groups for students. A few of our counselors offer groups through the week. And one of the groups that they offer a couple times a week is around the LGBTQ plus. And so it's a space for those students to A, eat lunch, and then B, to share. And they do a variety of different things, whether it's just sharing or whether it's kind of approaches, feeling comfortable. And then we have an after-school program that runs a couple times a month. It's a club. It's run by one of our staff members. And it's a growing population around the LGBTQ plus community. And it's a great place for students to feel accepted and be themselves. And they run a few different things during the year to bring awareness and hopefully some enlightenment to folks around that area. So, yeah, thank you.
Great, thank you. And sort of one of the last slides was regarding screen time. I'd seen an uptick from middle school to high school in 3 hours or more of screen time a day. Do you think that has, I don't know if the data supports it, do you know if it has more to do with age or access? Like, as we talk about things like device usage in a school, any thoughts on that?
What are numbers for?
They went from like 66% to,
Yeah, so definitely higher at the high school for screen time.
Yeah.
So the 66% is Galvin Middle School students,
Yep.
and the 78% is high school students. I mean, I don't necessarily have data to back this up, but just my being around teenagers for so many years, I think the explosion in usage of social media and students having access to phones and devices, I think would definitely have an impact on this. Thinking back to when I first got into education to now, it's just changed so much in regards to access to it and also just all how much social media is involved with teenagers' lives now. I don't know if you have anything.
Yeah, I think same thing. I don't have data right now, but just anecdotal data of just being around middle school kids since 2006, right? Like it has just exploded. It's just exploded, and I think families make decisions for whatever they need as their family, right? Whether a kiddo should have a phone or whatnot, but definitely kids are having more phones coming to the middle school at the younger grades, 5th, 6th, 7th, and obviously in 8th. And I think it's just the world. It's there. It's our world right now, right? It used to be big, huge TVs. Right now, they don't. So on one of those things that I talked about, or maybe it wasn't there, but like TVs, and kids aren't watching TVs anymore. And you're like, yeah, no, kids aren't watching TVs. It's all quick, short YouTube clips, and it's boom, 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 because it's all right here for them. So I think one of the things about that at least we're starting to have discussions about administratively, and is how do we help set up the high school students for success with good habits, right? Like, and so that they don't get to the 70, 80 when they start at 66 years. And so what are some things we can do at the middle school to maybe help curb that so they can not feel like they need this all the time? So, yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, and one last thing I just wanted to add, if there's anything that you'd like me to go back to our evaluators with, like if you'd like to see kind of what's the overlay between students with depression and students, and screen time, well, we have that data, but if there's any specific data sets that you would like, I can go back to the evaluators with.
I would just close by saying kudos to whoever thought to add Breezy and Sammy to the slideshow.
Right?
Good
That was
move.
me. I love it every time I go to the school.
I don't know,
Great.
Sammy's next to someone that looks a little strange.
Oh my
I don't know where we got that, but.
So just something to note, a larger report is part of the packet if people want to look deeper into the data. And then the only question I have is about the survey access for all students. Is it like offered in different languages? Do we help kids who might have developmental challenges take this survey, because that is a vulnerable population?
That's a good question.
Are those-
So I don't. So it's online now, right? So it used to be, the Scantron and whatnot. I don't. I haven't personally sat with the kids taking it, so I don't know if it does. But I would imagine that there are options for them to take. But that's probably good to find
Yeah,
out
I
because it is so personal too and anonymous.
I just don't want to miss out on some of the students that might be in these specialty programs.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Or my kids who might, the language is just, especially in
there's
seventh
the
grade.
ability for it to be read to them, I
Yeah.
know, and then the other languages was something that we asked for this year.
Okay. Thank you. Did you, oh, go ahead.
Just very quick, I just want to recognize Catherine's work with our Board of Health and Human Services, and also her partner work and collaborative work with our middle school and high school counselors, right? I think, you know, Catherine has been very humble and kind of goes over this very quickly in regard to the protective factors. But, you know, I think the counselors, Catherine and the Board of Health hasn't shied away from what we know to be protective factors that work well for students, right? When we haven't had the resources, Catherine has gone out and collaborated, and we've gotten grants. We've gotten grants through Cummings. You know, the counselor, the adjustment counselor here at the high school that was just, that David Robinson spoke about, is funded through a partnership grant through the federal DOE. We've partnered with Melrose and with Stoneham to get a grant that funds that position for 3 years. And that's just, I'm being very short and summarizing the work that's been done by both Catherine and the counselors and the administrative teams. I think in regard to the protective factors, I think really good work, really good work. You know, you've said this a few times. Yes, we want the numbers to be zero, and you know, we want them to be trending down more than they are. But these numbers are different than they were a short time ago. And so, and I think that that's a testament to the work. So I want to thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, it wasn't 20 minutes.
Have fun.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, David. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Brendan.
Who was the other gentleman that we couldn't see?
Joe Mulaney,
And he is a,
assistant principal at the high school.
okay.
Thank you. And thank you for your patience. I know we thought we were going to be on at 7:45, and so
We skipped ahead, sorry.
we skipped ahead. And so we have Ann Herzog who's joining us on Zoom to give an update on the CPAC.
Sure, and I know Chrissy was hoping to be here tonight too, but she has a busy night, so she may be joining us. Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Can.
Great. I'm still on campus, so it might be a little bit noisy in the background. I apologize in advance for that. But thank you for having us tonight. I'm grateful to be the co-chair of the CPAC with Chrissy Loftus, and we're also so grateful for the continued support of Chris Martone-Levine, Carol Lombardi, and Marie Ray. So thank you to all of them. I'm here tonight, but they're also with us as we do our work. We also appreciate the collaboration and support from all of you on the school committee, and we'd like to thank Eileen, who is our CPAC liaison this year as well. So parent advisory councils are required by the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, or DESE, and CPAC stands for Special Education Parent Advisory Council, and they're required as outlined in the Massachusetts Special Education Law, Chapter 71B. And the purpose of our CPAC in Wakefield is to promote awareness of special education services, to be a support of information, source of information and support for families from Wakefield whose children receive special education services, and to work with the district regarding meeting the needs of these students. In recently talking with Rosie Galvin, who's our Director of Special Education, she shared with us that currently about 690 students from Wakefield have an IEP. This is a fluid number, as you know, because as children with disabilities are identified, an individualized education program is created for them. But this number shows how many families can be supported by us as a CPAC. Also, as a CPAC, we value and encourage the positive outcomes that have been found with family engagement. And family engagement has been identified as a priority of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the U.S. Department of Education, and the state of Massachusetts. And the Department of Health and Human Services and Department of Education define family engagement as the systematic inclusion of families in activities and programs that promote children's development, learning, and wellness, including the planning, development, and evaluation of such activities, programs, and systems. So I also wanted to spend just a minute talking about the experience of parenting a child or children with disabilities, since as a member of the CPAC, I feel like tonight I am representing a lot of our families who parent children with disabilities. We throw out a lot of acronyms and abbreviations and kind of lingo in the education world, so I thought I would start out by defining what an individual with a disability is, as defined by what's usually called the ADEA, or the Americans with Disabilities Act. And that definition is a person who has a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities, a person who has a history or record of such an impairment, or a person who's perceived by others as having such an impairment. And another acronym we hear a lot is IDEA, which is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. And this is a law that makes available a free and appropriate public education to eligible children with disabilities throughout the nation, and ensures special education and related services to those children. So this law states that disability is a natural part of the human experience and in no way diminishes the right of individuals to participate in or contribute to society. Improving educational results for children with disabilities is an essential element of our national policy of ensuring equality of opportunity, full participation, independent living, and economic self-sufficiency for individuals with disabilities. So along the parenting journey, some families learn that their child has a disability right at birth. Some families learn that their child has a disability later on. And some families have both of these experiences, as the children might have multiple areas of disability. But regardless of when a family finds out about their child's disability, it can be a life-changing moment for sure. It can be shocking, it can be overwhelming, it can be frightening, and it can be really lonely. There can be a lot of questions that parents and family members have. How can I help my child? What does their future look like? But it also can be a very rewarding and wonderful experience parenting a child with a disability, as you see them make progress and grow and flourish. So you truly learn to appreciate and celebrate ordinary miracles, like a first smile, a first step taken, a first sentence spoken, a new friendship, or a first book read, even though these milestones might happen at a much later stage than typically developing children. Doug has a quote that he uses, that all challenges bear gifts, and one of the gifts of having a child with a disability is the relationships that develop between families. There's nothing quite as special or as strong as a connection between families of children who have similar disability. They simply understand, they get it without lengthy explanations, without questions, without judgment. And to be truly understood and supported in that way is incredibly powerful. And another gift is the gift of perspective, taking nothing for granted, and cheering your child on with each goal they accomplish, whether big or small. And through our annual CPAC Superheroes program, we give families an opportunity to recognize the dozens of teachers and staff of the Wakefield Public Schools who take the extra step to make sure achieving those goals happens, all the while cheering our children on. We also, the Wakefield School Committee's mission statement aligns with what we believe most families want for their children, that they grow up to be confident, lifelong learners who are respected and caring members of the community. And we do hope to continue our collaboration with Rosie Galvin, the administration, teachers, school staff, and families. It's truly in the child's best interest when we all work together. Just to go over some highlights from our last school year, 2022-2023. And we do have an annual report that I would love to send to everyone on the school committee that outlines all of these. We had Dr. Ellen Bratton from the LEAP program at Mass General, who spoke on processing speed and learning. We also had the Federation for Children with Special Needs, who presented on basic rights, evaluation and eligibility. We had a meet and greet for families with Rosie Galvin and the special education coordinators. We had a December social, a table at Parent University in March. More than 75 nominations from families for CPAC Superheroes, which was phenomenal. And we all enjoyed an August slush social with our friends at the Inspire Cafe. So our goals this year is to continue to be a source of information and support for all families with disabilities and those who require special education services. And I wanted to thank Doug for always including in the Thursday community call, to giving me time and space to talk about our events and what's going on, first of all, and then tell you a little bit more about what we have planned. So on October 18th, next week at 7 p.m., we're holding a virtual basic rights and special education workshop. That's a good starting point if families have any questions or concerns about their child and how to begin the evaluation process, or what is a disability, what supports are available. And that'll be hosted by Carol Lombardi. And then in collaboration with Parent University, we're co-hosting a virtual presentation by Dr. Nadine Gabb from Harvard University on dyslexia on October 19th at 7 p.m. And Parent University and the Wakefield Parent Partnership are co-hosting Dr. Peter Gray from Boston College on the Power of Play on October 25th at 6:30 p.m. And I'm looking forward to being part of the community panel discussion for that. And I think Catherine mentioned this, but Parent University is also showing the film Teenagers Under the Influence in November. So these are all wonderful opportunities for our families. November 1st is our CPAC annual business meeting, and all are welcome to attend that. We do have another meet and greet with Rosie Galvin planned and the special education coordinators on November 15th. That's an in-person event at the Galvin at 7 p.m. That gives parents and caregivers an opportunity to meet the staff and have any questions answered. We have an in-person dessert social scheduled for December 6th at the Galvin. And Rosie has graciously offered to present a workshop for families on collaborating with your school district. And that's scheduled for January 10th online. And in February 2024, we are planning a workshop on understanding the IEP presented by the Federation for Children with Special Needs. And this will be really important and relevant at that time, as the state and district are rolling out a new IEP format for the 2024-2025 school year. We're planning a workshop on self-care techniques for families and caregivers in spring of 2024. And we truly believe that if a parent or caregiver feels supported and empowered, that benefits their child as well. And in May, we once again plan to run our very popular CPAC superhero nominations. And there should be additional offerings from our neighboring CPACs that we will keep people posted as well. Another one of our CPAC roles is to serve as a voice for families of children with disabilities. And in that role, we receive constant feedback from the community and families in the district. Several issues raised so far this year for discussion include questions about transportation, the results of the district's tiered focus monitoring review last spring, and impacts that children with disabilities face with the implementation of new guidelines, such as the cell phones at the Galvin Middle School. And even Amy, when you mentioned, about the youth risk behavior survey, do children with disabilities have access to that as well? It's always important for us to see things through that lens of inclusivity. And very recently, we've been informing families who have questions about the U.S. Department of Education Office of Special Education Program request to DESE, to the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. And this request is that DESE provides essential documentation demonstrating their compliance with critical components of IDEA. Specifically, the Office of Special Education Programs has requested documentation related to IDEA's state complaint process in Massachusetts. So this is unique to Massachusetts. Child find, that under federal law, public schools must look for, find, and evaluate children who need special education and state-approved special education schools. This will be really interesting for us to follow as advocates for special education and children with disabilities to make sure that Massachusetts DESE is upholding the federal standards. So we encourage families to reach out to us. We'd love for more families to become involved with CPAC. Our email is wakefieldcpac@gmail.com. Reach out to us with any questions, and you can check out our Facebook page and our website, www.wakefieldcpac.org, to see our events and other things going on. And I just wanted to say it's really an honor and a privilege to be part of the CPAC board. It's an incredible group of parents. And I'm looking forward to working with the board and with Rosie and all the special education coordinators and staff to continue to try and best meet the needs of families receiving special education services in Wakefield. So thanks so much again for having us here tonight.
Thank you, Anne. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah.
I have more of a comment, but I don't know if y'all remember last year, when CPAC came in, I cried because it was very fresh for me at the time. My daughter was going through just a diagnosis period, and it was a really tough time. And later that night, I got messages from both Anne and Chrissy, just saying like, hey, if you need anything, reach out. And just, it's so true. Like, they just are they're wonderful people, and CPAC is there for anyone who's going through it, because it's a very overwhelming, and it does feel kind of lonely, and it's a very overwhelming process when you're going through it. So I encourage anyone to reach out to CPAC and come to a meeting and learn more about your rights and the rights of your child, because it's really important, and there's a lot to it. So just knowledge is power. So thank you, Anne, because you do amazing work. I appreciate you.
Thank you. It's a team effort for sure.
Yeah.
And the CPAC the Wakefield CPAC specifically has an excellent Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
Always sharing different items of interest, and yeah. So go on there and give them a like. Go ahead, Steve.
To sort of to Eileen's point, I often think that I think people think that their student sort of needs to reach a certain bar before they should reach out to CPAC. I think that there is no bar really. It's really, once your student starts having additional needs, in their sort of their education pathway, I think that's the moment when they should just reach out to the group, because you're such a knowledgeable, sort of compassionate group. There's nothing but benefit there, and I know personally, just from the conversations that sort of we've had, that you're incredibly welcoming, you and Chrissy and Chris, and so I just wish more people would take you up on your offer, and I don't think that can be said enough, is because I hear it from parents that go through this all the time. My first reaction every single time will be, you should just reach out to CPAC, because you are just a wealth of knowledge. And sort of on that same vein, I just want to thank you for being such a great partner in Parent University. It's always a great resource sort of for parents in the community, and some of the resources that you bring to that space and that stage are top notch. The things that sort of you and everyone that you're able to network with has access to, and how you sort of bring it back to the district is phenomenal. We could not ask or be blessed with better partners sort of in the education, not just your kids, but all of our kids. So thank you.
Thank you. I think it's important to bring CPAC and special education representation to things like Parent University, so that we don't develop, any kind of hesitancy in talking about disability and special education. So it's all right there in our community and in these events that we're talking about special education, disabilities, opportunities. One thing I hear from parents is that you don't know what you don't know, and sometimes parents don't know where to start. So I appreciate you, talking about referring parents to us and telling them to reach out. It's so important.
I just want to say thank you again. I feel like I can't say it enough. She's not a paid employee of the district, right? Everybody knows, right? And so, but to have, I don't think if a parent could find a smarter group of loving and caring individuals that are just so giving, just really remarkable partners for us. And it's a pleasure to share airtime on Thursday Zooms. In fact, it seems doesn't seem quite fair in regard to the benefit we get, but you're really been great for us, so thank you.
Thank you. We really appreciate the partnership for sure, and
Yeah.
I agree. We have a fantastic group with Chrissy and Chris and everybody else who helps us out, so we're really fortunate. And we're all parent volunteers. I should have started off with that.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ann.
And
Thank you very much.
Next up, we have professional development, which has been on the agenda for a
We're gonna get
couple of
it
weeks
in.
now. We hope to get to it tonight.
So I had shared the professional development plan with all of you in the same timeline that it was shared with WPSL, all of our staff in our district. We've already had one of our half-day professional development sessions already this year, and we have another one coming up next week. So I just wanted to start just kind of giving context for, it is a requirement of the district to have a professional development plan that really outlines how we will continue to improve as a district. We do a heavy focus on aligning our professional development to our instructional strategy as well as our school improvement plans. The last couple of years, we've just had a heavy push on maximizing the time that we have in each department. We have a lot of initiatives going on. Even you heard tonight around the professional development that's happening with our student support team across the district. So we've really tried to differentiate professional development by department. A lot of it, there isn't, a ton of debate over what needs to happen. It really aligns specifically in our academic departments with initiatives that are happening, usually following a curriculum review. Example, this year, we have a huge initiative happening K-4 where we're moving to a more structured literacy program. That's a really big initiative. There's a lot of buzz around. If you recent article in the Globe just talking about districts moving to a more structured approach to literacy. I can't stress enough how exciting it is for Wakefield right now. It's really hard right now, but the fact that we were able to capitalize on grant funding, to do a really thorough ELA curriculum review last year and present it as an optional pilot this year, and we had our entire elementary level opt in to adopt our new EL education as our core literacy program, in addition to Foundations and Haggerty. But with that comes the need for a lot of time. So we've really, at the elementary level, focused heavily on ELA implementation. We're continuing our focus on math implementation in our math departments. We've again capitalized on grant money that supports us bringing in additional support to focus on that implementation of the illustrative math curriculum, K through 12. We're in process of a science review right now, science, technology, and engineering curriculum review that started last spring. So again, time is focused on that throughout the year with our science team. Brendan will come back another time to talk about the new health standards. I've met with Brendan and Chris Tolios is our department coordinator at the high school about the need to prioritize time with the health teachers throughout the district to do a review of the new health standards and see how that's going to affect our district, our curriculum resources, that sort of thing. And then I work really closely with Rosie Galvin as well. She takes a lead on a lot of the special education professional development. There's a lot going on there in terms of looking at eligibility for students, how we're making school-based eligibility determinations, IEP development, goal areas. We have Donna Kosick from Elliott Services coming in, working with our student support team. So it's all in the professional development plan that I shared with you. I think we're really proud of this plan. It's in the works of getting up on our website to be publicly accessible. So we found that early on, if we structure out the year, that really helps us to maximize the time, because it seems like a lot at the beginning of the year, but it goes really quickly, and there never seems to be enough. But happy to answer any questions. I just thought I would kind of give a big picture overview because I know you've seen it. But if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
I was definitely impressed with how thorough the plan was that you had sent over to us, just seeing how many things were offered to the staff. In terms of input, when the staff does a course, for example, do they give input as to what they thought of it and areas for improvement?
Yeah.
So, and then that comes back to you or somebody else to work on for the next time around and see how we can improve things?
Yep. So the planning for this, this year's professional development plan, the planning started back in the spring, and it's usually a combination. We really capitalize on the structure that we have, whereas with my work with the curriculum coordinators, Brennan Kent as Director of Health and Wellness, Tom Bankert, Director of Visual and Performing Arts, Rosie Galvin, there's kind of a series of facilitators who provide feedback to me after having kind of worked with the department, looked at what are the priorities. Sometimes, like I said, it's not a lot of discussion. It's really just the work that needs to be done and the time that we need to have it. But we do issue surveys after most professional development sessions, just to even hear how was the delivery, what did you take from it, how can we tweak next time? Because usually what we do is we structure these out, you know, as you can see in the plan, we structure it out for the year. So if one session didn't go well, we can get that feedback and tweak it as we need to.
Great, thank you.
So we're initiating a more structured literacy program this year. We're rolling that out. I know it's really early in the year. How's the feedback been?
Yeah, I mean, well, so we've kind of been chipping away at this for a little bit now. Last year, we really focused on our foundational skills, and we moved Haggerty, a phonemic awareness program, across K through 2. Even Doyle is taking this on as well. And we also did a reset on foundations, which is our phonics program, K through, we brought it up to grade 3. Foundations have been in the district for a while, but what we found upon further review was that we needed a bit of a reset in terms of alignment and professional development related to it. So that was really big for us to dig into that last year while doing the ELA curriculum review. And then what's brand new this year is EL education, which is our core literacy program, which is focused on reading comprehension, writing, and yeah, feedback is it's a lot. It's new. It's anytime there's you know, a new curriculum resource, it's a huge undertaking. I think if you can kind of talk to local districts who are adopting it in phases, but we were of the mindset where we wanted to put it out to everyone, and if there was a full opt-in, which was what we got, we didn't want to deny anyone the opportunity for that training. But the decision was made in the spring, which was nice for us because we were able to do some summer work. We had a lot of teachers at the elementary level participate in summer training with, we've contracted in Hill for Literacy, which is another reputable professional development provider, to do some work on foundational skills this summer. And then we've also did professional development over summer related to EL education. We have an EL leaders group, so that was another part of our implementation plan, was to have a group of teachers, reps from every grade level at every school to just get a little ahead of the game in terms of additional training there too. And I can't say enough about Valerie Drynan, our curriculum coordinator, and Michelle Lebrecht, our curriculum coach, who have taken a huge lead on this and planned all of that out. So I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah,
it's hard, but we're working at it.
No, I read that article in the Globe, and
Yeah,
I read a few
huge.
other articles, and it's crazy. Like, high poverty students in Mississippi are beaten by a sizable margin high
It's
poverty
huge.
students in Massachusetts on average, and it's because they basically pretty much mandated the structured literacy programs, and so the evidence is pretty clear that it works.
And we've been following this.
kinda-
You know, it's just increasingly the buzz around it is picking up. But we've been really staying on top of this. You know, Doug and I have had so many conversations over the last, I'd say, even 3 years, just around what's happening in just around the country, and then how this relates to Wakefield. And I think we were hearing it in bits and pieces across we were seeing it definitely in our data. We're going to review MCAS data at the next meeting, and then I think you'll see bits from the professional development plan tied into our action plan for moving forward. But I think our teachers are seeing things too. I think the fact that we get a full opt-in at our elementary level tells us that our teachers necessarily they were seeing holes, and especially in our bigger schools with more subgroups.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like a lot of people think of PD and they think, oh, okay, it's easy. You just roll out this PD
No.
and teachers learn how to do this, and it goes like that. If you've been teaching one way for 20 years, then all of a sudden you're like, okay, now you got to do this. I mean,
It's a huge shift.
way more complex than just like throwing out a quick PD for a few half days, and all of a sudden everyone's doing it perfect.
Absolutely.
It's so
It was a
much
huge
more
philosophical
challenging.
shift too. I mean, there was definitely a lot of struggle last year as we were working through the process. Just even the training that people received within their teacher prep programs, reading specialist training. You know, a lot that's been going on. So it was I'm really proud of our district because it was a huge philosophical shift, and the fact that people, at the end of the day, were kind of like, when you know better, you do better. Like there's really no denying that we need to make this move, and that we started down the path. kind of calling it year zero.
Does the new
Because at least we
ELA
started.
Yeah. Does the new ELA curriculum, remind me, because that was months ago when we
No.
went over it. Does it follow like the science of reading? That it does. Yeah.
It
And that's,
does.
That's that
Yes, in terms of like,
Yeah.
and we have we had to. There's a lot out there. We utilize what DESE's put out through their mass literacy site, the Curate process, where they have recommended resources that meet criteria. And so we were already far down the path of investing in integrity and foundation. So we wanted to find a resource that complemented those programs as well. That is a knowledge building curriculum. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally happening all over the country. The whole push for science of reading. So
I was sad our data wasn't updated though for the Globe article because it says that it didn't even have that we were piloting this year, but that's all right. We'll get it fixed for next year.
Exciting. Yeah.
But we're in a good place. Like I said, it's hard. It's a lot of work. Teachers are working so hard. The principals are working hard. The curriculum team is working really hard, but it's definitely paying off. And I did want to highlight in the plan too, we added a section related to administrator PD. So you can see there that even our administrators are participating in science and reading PD as well.
Love it.
And so there's a lot going on. And then just to stay on the ELA track at the secondary level too, we've talked about this. There's a huge investment with our ELA and social studies teachers in the Empower Writing program as well, which we're really excited about and starting. So I'd like to thank Margaret Messier and Jason Pavey for their leadership there as well.
Any other questions for Kara? No, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
That's it for me. Thank
That's
you.
it? That's all you got? I do not have any comments or updates. I'll go quick. Check 11 off. Subcommittee reports, finance and facilities, Mr. Markham?
We've not had a meeting since our last meeting, but we need to schedule one before our next, so we'll be working on that.
Okay, thank you. Labor and personnel, Mr. Ingles?
Yep. We have not had, well, we continue in our labor negotiations with teachers, negotiating a new contract for the WEA Unit A. And we have not met with them since our last school committee meeting. We do have a meeting with them tomorrow. So hopefully more to report in our next school committee meeting. And yeah, hopefully we'll reach a contract that is sort of equitable for everyone and sustainable for the town. So
Thank you. Student services, Ms. Colleran?
We have not met since the last school committee meeting, but we'll, just like Tom said about his, we're going to be putting something in the books because we want to continue the conversation of school start times. So
Don't we have a meeting scheduled the 16th?
16.
we do.
Yep.
Okay. There we go.
So
I
you
knew I
went.
scheduled it for the 16th, but I wasn't sure if it definitely went through. Okay. Thanks, Judy. So we have it on the 16th, everyone.
Yeah.
I knew that. Yeah.
All are welcome.
Okay.
Policy and communications, Mr. Fontanella?
Yeah, so we talked about this a little bit today, but we had a meeting last Tuesday, and we had a conversation about the Yonder Pouch initiative, and also the revision of the handbook language, which we voted on today. So I thought we had a great conversation about the cell phone policy. I thought we had a lot of community engagement, a lot of parents on the call, which is great. And yeah, I just wanted to say I thought the presentation today, which kind of dovetailed off of that, that the middle school administration gave, I thought it was really good. I thought, the guidance counselors gave a really great perspective on issues with cell phones in the building, talking about academic distractions, how guidance counselors are saying it was an issue once a day with a cell phone, that is a very, prevalent issue. And I thought that, they gave, a really good presentation. Overall, I thought it was really good. And yeah, our next meeting is going to be next Tuesday, where we will talk about homework policy. And not homework policy, I'm sorry, but continue our discussion about homework guidelines. That's it.
Thank you. Does anyone have a liaison report?
Yep. So I met with the youth council. I got a little bit late. My day job got in the way, so I jumped in about halfway through their meeting. But they're continuing their work on sort of recruiting for their Snow Angel program. Can't believe we should start thinking about snow already, but yep, we will. So recruiting for their Snow Angel program and how best to sort of get that messaging out, and also bringing up being sort of proactive in thinking about being ready for their next partnership with the Warrior Cleanup Crew that often sort of hosts at least 2 or 3 cleanup events around the community, and seeing what they can do to sort of boost attendance. Although I will say attendance has been pretty great for those events, and they often focus around our school areas or down at Bettsfield, and so it's great work. But yeah, continue to see the good work that they're doing.
Do they meet on Zoom?
They do. They are moving to like a hybrid option. So they do strictly Zoom and then do an in-person with a hybrid capability. So if people want to still Zoom in, but they're trying to get back to like an every other in-person meeting. So
Nice.
kudos to them. Great bunch of kids.
The Wakefield Environmental Sustainability Committee's meeting is Thursday, so we haven't met since the last meeting. But I will remind everyone that the electric vehicle showcase is on October 22nd at Veterans Field from 10 to 1, and there's information on their Facebook page. They also have a very good Facebook page. A lot of interesting stuff out there.
No test drives though. No one's going to let you test drive their Tesla.
Oh, is that right?
That's what I hear.
We're trying to like bump up participation.
It's a shame. That's, you can sit in it.
You,
maybe.
it's fine.
They-
That's fine.
Yeah, play video games on a Tesla screen.
And I know Anne was just in here with CPAC, so she kind of went over everything. But I just want to remind everyone again that next week on October 18th is the basic rights in special education, and that's a really good starting point if you're at that point where you're a little lost and everything, and it's a lot of information, and just like I think what she said earlier, you don't know what you don't know, so it's a really good place to start.
Is that on Zoom?
That's on Zoom, yep,
Cool.
7 to 8:30.
I'm positive that came out of COVID, right? Zoom.
Yeah,
It's easy.
so easy.
Any other liaison reports? No? Our next school committee meeting is Tuesday, October 24th at 7 o'clock. And that same week, we have a tri-board meeting on Thursday, October 26th at 7 o'clock, which is via Zoom, right? Is that correct? It got switched from, so everyone can hop on.
You get to see each other twice in 1 week?
Yes, we do.
As long as you keep your camera up.
Does anyone in the school committee have a comment? Well, anyone could comment. Do you have any closing comments? Mr. Ingles?
Yeah. So sort of a personal but school related thing. So my family and I recently just came back from DC, and so it was just Indigenous Peoples Weekend, and so on Indigenous Peoples Day we went to the National Museum of Native Americans, and so this is the second time I've been to that museum. I was at it about 10 years ago when it was newly opened, and there's a marked difference in the space today versus 10 years ago. 10 years ago, there was more art and there was more activity. It seems like things have fallen down a little bit, and my family and I also go down to Plymouth-Patuxet, down in Plymouth fairly often, and some of the participation there and what used to happen when they started a new sort of cultural initiative around Indigenous peoples, and compared with when it started, that has also sort of fallen off a little bit. It's not the same amount of participation. There's some things going on. I couldn't help but think about the language that happened in sort of the removal of sort of the Native American logo from the warrior. We said that we were going to inject sort of Indigenous culture into curriculum, into some space at the new high school, and where I see initiatives like that sort of falling down in other spaces in society and community, both at a state and a federal level, I just want to sort of draw attention and hope that we don't miss the mark here in Wakefield. I want to sort of keep that front of brain as we continue to have high school discussions, as we continue to have curriculum discussions. I don't want, just because it's not in front of us every single day, I don't want it to not be a focus. I want it to sort of always be there, and that we're doing that work well. So I have faith that we have the educators and we have the team to do it well. So
When does the 5th grade go to Camp Borndale?
next week,
Oh, are you a chaperone? You
No,
go
2
to,
weeks.
You go to,
I can't. I'm on a work trip. I think my wife is chaperone.
you go to the Plymouth Plantation, that's my brother.
We're members. I've actually been there for Thanksgiving.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. They do pretty well. They do a good stage turkey.
It's yummy.
It is.
Well, can anyone top that comment? Are there any other comments? No? Okay. Do we have, oh, for our next school committee meeting, we're going to talk about MCAS, I heard?
Correct.
Is there anything else, agenda items for future meetings? Seeing none. Okay, great. Do we have a motion?
We do. Move that the school committee adjourn its meeting of Tuesday, October 10th, 2023.
Second.
A motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor? None opposed. It passes unanimously. Thank you. Good night.
I was nervous. I thought we were going to go over 2.
No.